Okay, this is Glencoe, page 103 and 104. Two short pages, and I think they're pretty self-explanatory, but this is to help you if you need a little bit more guidance. We're going to be looking at 4 different kinds of pronouns: demonstrative, interrogative, relative, and indefinite. And of course, we remember that a pronoun is taking the place of a noun. It is going to be used instead of having to repeat a noun again and again, because that can get pretty dull. And each type of pronoun does a slightly different job. On page 103, you see the demonstrative pronouns listed there: this, these, that, and those. And of course, I always imagine somebody pointing, at something in particular. This is my cat. Instead of saying, the cat is my cat, we're using the pronoun this, but it's very definite, demonstrative. I'm demonstrating what it is that I'm talking about. This cat, these books, that mouse, something in particular is what we're talking about with the demonstrative pronouns. And you see other examples there on page 103. This is your locker, that is your assignment, these are the shrubs to be trimmed, my uniform is cleaner than those. All of those being what we call demonstrative pronouns. Interrogative pronouns, you see I've decorated my slide with question marks. Interrogative pronouns are asking a question. They're used to form questions. To interrogate is to ask questions, and that's exactly what these pronouns are doing. Who is at the door? Whom would you prefer? Now, there's another thing that's going to come up later for us in grammar study is why who, or why whom, when do you use each one? And we'll talk more about that later. But as you can see there, the who, what, which, they always are going to have a question associated with them. Okay, relative pronouns are pronouns that are going to introduce what we call a clause. And we'll be learning a lot more about clauses in Chapter 4. But you can see we have a sentence here, very simple one: the driver parked over there. If we want to indicate which driver, then we can use something like this. This phrase, the driver who arrived last, and this again is the very same example you see in your book, but you're going to see that the word who relates to a word in the sentence, driver, so that's why we call it a relative pronoun. It relates to some word in the sentence. So it means the same thing as driver, and within the 3 words who arrived last, we've got a subject and we've got a verb and we've got an adverb there too. But this whole thing is like a mini sentence: who arrived last. That's what we call a clause. It has a subject and a verb. And you can see that this little group of words here, who arrived last, is telling us about which driver, so it's going to be put right in the middle of the sentence: the driver who arrived last parked over there. So relative pronouns, for this point, you need to look at that list and just make sure you understand that they are going to relate a small group of words to the larger sentence. The relative pronoun. And finally, indefinite pronouns. Those are kind of fun, just words, anything, none, nobody, nothing. They don't demonstrate something in particular. It's one of the books, not that book. You see, remember that would be one of the demonstrative pronouns, but this is very unspecific. It's indefinite. And you have a whole list there of indefinite pronouns. Now, they're still functioning as pronouns, but they encompass a larger group of things than your demonstrative pronoun would do. Okay, so now we have our 4 types of pronouns. You certainly don't need to try to memorize these lists, but you do want to have an idea of what the pronouns are doing. And to practice, you can do the exercise on page 105 and then check your answers. You can do it a couple of ways. You can do it on paper and then check it with my answer book, or you can do it on your test page. You'll find it on your test page, and that will grade it automatically for you, and you can see what the correct answers are after you do the assignment there. So either way you want to do it is fine.